I worked in the tech industry for 36 years, almost 37 years. Uh, I'm just reflecting on that. It's probably older than most of you, but we'll just move right past that. I had a portfolio career. I actually started in sales, working with technology, helping clients figure out how to use technology to provide value to their businesses. And then through that journey, I pivoted from a direct professional contributor into management, a bit reluctantly, because for those of you in the audience who might be a little bit geeky or techie like I describe myself, there's kind of an attitude in the engineering and technology community that it's better to be a professional than a manager. But I actually had a lot of natural management capabilities that the leaders I worked with saw, and they pushed me to go in that direction. And I have to tell you, my very first day as a manager, I loved it. I loved it from the minute I started in New York Wall Street as the technology manager for a large investment bank in the New York Stock Exchange and Depository Trust. So I did that for a number of years. I've worked in many different industries, but around the late 1980s, for those of you who know IBM as a company, we had we had a crisis, and the company had to make a lot of decisions, and I had to make a lot of decisions. As a company, I'm really proud to say that our company does really well when its backs to the wall and understands how to transition and accelerate into new technologies. The company's 104 years old, which is astonishing for a tech company, and they did that. But I had to make a decision because I was in the land of mainframes, which some people at the time were calling dinosaurs, and I was highly recognized in that world. I had been recognized professionally with a really significant award, and I married a mainframe guy, and so we were like the New York City mainframe couple, which was fun. Um, but my clients were working a lot in client-server technologies with PC LANs, high-performance computing, algorithmic trading, et cetera, et cetera. And so I made a decision to make that transition technically and change that direction career-wise, which was really pretty high risk. But a marvelous thing happened because our company set up a company inside our company. They call that entrepreneurship now, an entrepreneurial company inside a large company. And while the main company stabilized, it was our job to move the company to the new technology, the new business model, the new direction to restore our prominence. I worked in that business for maybe 7 or 8 years, and I did everything. It was the most broadening experience I ever had. We'll talk more about that through this conversation. But as I was doing that work, I started working with product development, with marketing, with ecosystem partners, with sales. And I actually went out to the Midwest to run a sales territory. Another very unusual move for a technologist to run a sales territory, but really critical in our company because those were the bona fides that you needed to really accelerate your career and move up the company. And also, I think in sales, the cadence is very different. It's really urgent every single day, and it's super uncomfortable. And you need that sense of urgency, that sense of what does it really take to close a business? What are customers really asking? How do you negotiate? So you can bring it back into the business, and the rest of the business can be more urgent. So very, very, very tough and rewarding job. I also moved from New York to Chicago, great city, but very, very different style than New York City. For instance, in Chicago, they don't wear black every day. You can see I regressed back into my New York uniform. And so did that, and then I had a wonderful opportunity to come and work for the Senior Vice President of Research and Development, who was at the time Lou Gerstner's right hand, great executive, Nick D'Onofrio. And I'll talk a lot about the lessons that he taught me, but just to finish the story, that job was, they called it executive assistant. Some people think that means secretary, and I actually met with customers who thought I was his secretary, but actually it was a grooming position for executive management. And the goal was to see and to be seen, to be groomed and to be observed in a fishbowl. Uh, Very exciting, very nail biting, very tense. And so I worked for him for about 7 months, and then he asked me to go back out into the business and rebuild systems engineering, which was my original job, and honestly, my first love. And I built that first starting in Americas, then in North America, then in all of Americas, and then globally. Rebuilt a team of 5,000 technical people to work with our clients to help them leverage technology for value, but also to build a core of people who were very valuable to the business and felt very valuable in their own right in the middle of a sales organization with a very strong sales culture. So I was doing that very happily. I loved it, loved it, loved it. And then one day I got a call from a senior vice president of our division and said, the chairman has asked that you work on a transformation initiative to help the company maintain our value and make tough decisions and changes when we're strong, right? So I couldn't believe that. I remember exactly where I was, and I said, I'm not going to do it. And he said, well, I knew you were going to say that, but yeah, you're going to do it. So guess what I did? I did it. And the other interesting thing about it was they asked me to lead the talent initiative. I'm a technologist, worked in sales, worked with clients, but now they want me to work on talent. And the reason was that they wanted somebody with the technology training to help develop the talent blueprint for the company sales force. Turns out that that was one of the most important jobs I ever did for my clients, because when I went back to work with clients in our software business in the early days of cloud computing, which was a market that I worked on to help the company understand where it was and help us get established, clients wanted to know, how does IBM transform, right? What did you do, right? So it was interesting to take that kind of really big detour and not really do it willingly, in a sense, but then to come back around and find that it was my most important value proposition and got me in to see so many senior customers, including working with, the defense industry, financial services, telco, et cetera, to help give them advice not only on technology, but on business. And so I worked the rest of my career in cloud computing. I went on, as Kirsten said, to be the CTO, which was an incredible job that I loved. And then my last assignment, I helped the company, the software business, recreate or start to migrate our go-to-market model to match the new business models that are associated with the cloud market. One other thing I'd like to say is that when I was doing all that, I also was married, I had a family, and I worked a lot here at Northeastern. I was on the board of visitors for the business school, and 5 years ago, maybe 6 or 7 years ago now, Tom Moore, the previous dean, who I just adored, asked me to be chair. So I'm very familiar with this room. We used to hold our meetings here of the Board of Visitors, and I was delighted. And I put a lot of time into doing that and other things outside of my professional career. It's really important because I started by saying I had a portfolio career in IBM. I did many things, but I also worked to broaden myself beyond my one company to work out in industry, in academia, in public service or nonprofits to the degree that I had the capacity to do that, to give back and help, but also to learn and grow.